Hi there! Welcome to the Untitled RPG Devlog Episode 2. Things have changed quite a lot since the last episode, and the game finally feels like it's starting to come together. One of the biggest new changes is the post-battle screen. When you complete a battle, you can get money, experience, and potentially an item. To make this information more clear to the player, we now have this screen. The first thing shown on the post-battle screen is the experience gained from the battle. When a party member gets enough experience, shown by this bar filling up, they'll level up. In most RPGs, a character will get better stats and potentially learn new spells when they level up. But that doesn't feel right for this game. We already have a way to equip new spells through the spell bullet system, and since the numbers in this game are so low, increasing a stat would either be far too great of an upgrade or completely meaningless. Instead, we plan to restrict the armor, weapons, trinkets, and spell bullets the player can equip based on their level. Another upside of the system is that we will know how powerful the player can be at most in each area of the game. This will make balancing a challenging yet fair game much easier. The second thing on the post-battle screen is gold. Used as a currency in the game, gold will let the player purchase better equipment, consumables, play minigames, and more. Finally, the player may get an item by finishing a fight. Since battles take place when the player walks into specific areas and they're not random, each battle will give a specific item when completed, or none at all. With this, we can reward the player for taking part in optional battles more than with just XP and gold. The second big change is that we're finally starting to build the world and the story. Building cutscenes and dialogue is done through scripting. Unlike the rest of the code I've written up to this point, scripting takes the functions for creating dialogue boxes or causing an NPC to move and puts them together to create cutscenes and tell the story. The story begins in the Land of the Dead. Currently, this small area doesn't really have its art assets done yet, but it's still an important part of the game. After traveling through it, the player will encounter the Grim Reaper himself. The Grim Reaper is puzzled by the fact that the main character of the game is mute, and decides that it's because her soul is not yet whole. He tasks her with returning to the land of the living and finding the lost piece of her soul, promising to bring her back to life until she successfully does. An important new feature that's part of this dialogue is the keyboard. Using it, the players can type in the name of their character, and NPCs will refer to them as that for the rest of the game. The player is then brought back in the snowy wasteland, known as the Lunarctic Wastes, although they will not know this at that time. As they wander around, they'll be attacked by sentient snowballs. This moment serves both a story purpose, as a way for the main character to meet the second party member, as well as a teaching moment for the player. Even though these battles are one-on-one, and the enemies are weak to the player's basic attack, they are still extremely dangerous, and the player can only survive 2 of them before succumbing to the third. Without another party member, battles in this game can be brutal and should be taken very seriously. When the player finally fails, they black out, finding themselves in the house of the second party member. He introduces himself, again giving the option for the player to name him with the keyboard. After some story, the two set out to discover why the magma is no longer flowing to his house through the pipes. The player is given a brief tutorial on save points, or grave points as they're called in this game, and a few battles where the mechanics of the battle system are explained. Next, the player will encounter the main antagonist of the game, who is the one behind the magma being shut off. These characters currently reuse existing character sprites, but they'll soon have their own unique sprites. They fight his 2 bodyguards while he escapes, and then follow him. The next map of the game is Lunarctic Town. This will be a pretty large area to explore, with side missions, minigames, and other optional content. Currently it's a bit barren, since the player can't go into various houses and shops yet, and there are only a few non-player characters in the area. But as development moves past the main story and begins to focus on side content, this area will become more fleshed out. As you can see as well, there are plenty of empty plots for additional buildings. Since each chapter of this game focuses on a single area, each with only one major town or city, I want them to be large, interesting places to explore. There will be fewer town areas in this game than most other RPGs, but hopefully they'll be more meaningful. After doing a bit of exploring around town, the player will head north towards the geothermal plant. This plant is a source of the magma that helps to warm and power the Lunarctic area, and the player discovers that the villains have taken it over for a nefarious plan. This building will be the final dungeon of the first chapter of the game, but right now the door is locked. To get in and confront the villains, the player will need to track down a key. Luckily, they've overheard that one can be found in the hands of a group of bandits. The party then speak to the third party member. He's a former member of the bandit group, and while initially reluctant to help, he decides to join the group so they can infiltrate the bandits' hideout and take the key. That's it so far for the work that's been done this week. It's been exciting to see the game start to come together, but it's also been a lot of work. I've also been concerned that the exposition tutorials are pretty densely packed into the start of the game. Setting up the stakes and teaching the player how to play the game are certainly important, but I worry that the player will get bored reading through all this dialogue. After the next scripted section, where the fourth party member joins, the game should open up, but up until that point, it's quite linear and story-focused. I'd like to hear what you think. Do you think that this first section is too dense, or do you think that it's fine? If it's too dense, what could I add to give it some more room to breathe? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to keep following the progress of this game, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Thanks, and have a great day.